who stood out? I mean, anyone for Rovers at all? And then which of the Wire players were the pick of the bunch in a big win for them?
And I actually thought that Kenny Dowell did have a good game for them, for Rovers. To be honest, I thought he was involved both ways.
Yeah, and he shows a bit of leadership, doesn't he? He does.
Yeah.
He gets involved when it's tough as well. When they need someone to do something, he seems to get involved, which is a positive, I think, from bringing in a big money overseas player.
Yeah. Again, it's hard to pick for Warrington, isn't it? I mean, Clark obviously always looks good. Yeah, do you know what I mean? You score 40 points, it's not an individual show, is it?
No, I thought maybe Ratchford was the pick for Wire for me.
Yes, sorry, Stephen Ratchford. Yeah, he would be.
Yeah, you already mentioned Clark as well, who I think was good. I actually think as well, kind of quietly, Warrington's middle forwards were pretty good too in this game. I think more attention's going to be on all the other players because there was a lot of tries and there was a lot of flair showed in the game with the movement of the ball in the game. Not necessarily all of it successful flair, I should say, but there was a lot of it. But quietly, once Warrington actually realised that they didn't have to try and play like Hull KR were trying to play, the forwards were more controlled in their offloading. They were certainly really powerful with their running, and I think once they moved it more to saying, let's get a bit around the middle, focus more on our strengths, and then use all these great players we've got outside of that, like Ratchford, like Widdop, who I think was pretty good, considering all the talk's been about his wanting to go home in inverted commas to Australia. I think he was pretty good.
I thought he grew into the game.
Yeah, I think he probably scored the best try as well, maybe in the game. That was an impressive move for his try, cutting up the middle of the field. And I think that demonstrated by that point that Warrington had learned their lesson for how sloppy they were in the first half.
Yeah.
What was your highlight moments from the game then?
Crumbs, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, Widdop's try was a nice one. I thought Ratchford created a lot. But then Ratchford's one of those players that I really hate because I quite like him. When they play on a different team.
You don't want to like him because he's never going to play for you, but at the same time.
Yeah, and he cheated in the semi-final last year. Yeah, but and again, as much as I hate to have to say, give Rovers a little bit of credit, why not try a short kick-off?
Yeah, it was fantastic, wasn't it? It really was a sort of sit up and take notice kind of. Normally, the start of the game, you're kind of sending a few tweets out or reading a few tweets or whatever, thinking it's just going to be a kick long and everything. We're going to see a normal set, might get a knock on, and then that's when the excitement starts.
Yeah. The halfback will catch it, pass it to the prop forward, he'll drive it in, then maybe you'll get a winger driving it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think like you say, it's good to give him credit, and it was really fantastic. It's just a shame that when you're playing that sort of percentages with the game, if everything you're doing is 50%, then you're only going to complete at 50%. And that's not going to be good enough against a side with the talent and eventual ability to get their heads around how they should play, like Warrington had.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately that's the issue, isn't it? You are, Rovers are a bottom-end team and Wire are a top-end team.
And the philosophy, though, that Tony Smith is taking into this with the lack of sort of risk of relegation, he just wants to let his guys go out there and express themselves. That's going to at least make their games entertaining to watch, even if they lose most of them.
Yeah.
Okay, Game 3. Sarah, you were the star of this game for Hull FC. You and Joshua, I think. It was Salford versus Hull FC. It was 22-12 to Salford in the first half. Liam Moore was the referee. It finished 54 points to 18 in Andy Last's first game in charge of the Black and Whites. The stats were not so one-sided as the scoreboard. More metres for Salford, but only 115 more. That's not... You're not talking 30 points there with that. Made only at 0.1 metres per carry rate average again. That's nothing. Although they did create 4 more clean breaks and made 3 fewer errors. That starts to tell us more of the picture, I think. They were more clinical and incisive with the Red Devils. Individually, Ken Seo, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 6 tackle busts, 168 metres, 4 clean breaks. Rhys Williams, 2 tries, 124 metres. Chris Atkin, 1 try, 2 try assists, 121 metres. And Tuilola here, 2 tries and 3 try assists. For Hull FC, Carlos Tumavave, 1 try assist, 5 tackle busts, 181 metres and 2 clean breaks. Probably didn't see enough ball in this game. Jamie Shaw with 1 try and 156 metres. Josh Griffin, 126 metres. And Danny Yemate Houghton, 1 try assist, 63 tackles, 10 of which were marker tackles.
He should be dropped for next week because he's crap.
Houghton?
Yeah.
Who else have you got to do more going forward? That's
Johnston.
I mean, that's been the question all along, hasn't it?
The question isn't who else have we got. It's who else will the coaching staff play.
Well, it's like since he won that Man of Steel, it's almost like he's built his reputation so much around the defence within his game, and basically doing other people's work. We've talked about this before, haven't we? And it's taken away some... Because I remember him, he used to be a dummy half who would pick up and run quite a lot when he saw the opportunity and had variety in what he did, which doesn't seem to have been the case ever since he's built up this reputation as being the Man of Steel tackling machine.
But he always has been. If you look over all the years he's played, there's only about 2 years that he hasn't been top tackler. So even when he was doing the going forward stuff, he still had the defence.
Yeah, it's just become more of a focus almost on him in terms of the attention and stuff, and it's his narrative now, isn't it? Yeah. Shall we give the fan reviews? Paige said, same shit, just 5 months down the line. Last has got a big job on his hands. Take nothing away from Salford, though. They played some very entertaining rugby.
Carsten said, ouch, back to the drawing board for a last change, I guess.
POB the Viking said, a good game to watch, but Salford just too good for Hull.
Shoddy and Munger said, first in, last out, ?
He nearly got our tweet that we did. I think the saying's last in, first out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tom Andrews said, well, turns out it wasn't Radford's fault after all. New coach and the Blunder Sharks are still as shy as ever. Cult hero Mane looks way out of his depth. Connor's still a big baby. Snide, non-existent. Imagine having a team of internationals and letting Ryan Lannon run all over you. Get the bedsheets out again, lads. It's going to be a long season. On another note, thought the refs relied way too much on the video ref.
Tom with his double fingers has sent another one.
Oh no, I think it's just a duplicate again. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. Move on to Lee.
And Lee said, could it be that the SLP presenter's curse could also extend to fan cams? Just a thought. Salford were on fire in this game and Lola here was immense. That looping pass for their first try was perfection. Highlight for Hull was definitely the mother and son on the fan cam. It's clearly stars in the making.
Seconded that. Fatboy Rob said, well done to FC for making Cass only the second shittest team of the weekend. He's got more on that later, as you might have guessed already. Look, let's get your perspective. It mustn't have been enjoyable watching that whilst being aware that people were going to be watching you watching that.
Yeah. Well, I think you go back to, when was it, 2013, when we made the mistake of sacking Peter Gentle and employing his assistant, and it never really worked. And then we made the mistake of sacking that particular assistant and employing his assistant. It's just never going to work. If you've got a crap coach, don't employ his assistant as your new coach, because you've got the same problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just an extended audition, isn't it, for Andy Last, rather than a permanent appointment right now. He's got to, if he turns this team around, you've got to say he will have earned the job well and truly, because this team looks a long way off at the moment, doesn't it? Do you think that's fair?
You've got too many players who know that because of their name, they've got a shirt for the match, and they couldn't care less, I don't think. I agree with what you said, that Carlos didn't get the ball enough. We were saying you don't feel like Carlos has seen the ball, and then suddenly you got the ball and we made a break and we scored.
And they got the ball again and you made a break and nearly scored.
Exactly. Jamie Scholl is not a... Yeah. I mean, why is he not catching balls and leaving them for other players?
I mean, why is he doing that to his head?
Well, yeah, I mean, him and Ben Crooks both look as stupid as each other.
Yeah. And some of it dripped onto Niall Evans, didn't it, as well, whilst he was getting it done, which was unfortunate for Niall Evans' fringe.
Yeah. And the problem is, as well, we signed all of these players based on a normal season. We've not got a normal season now. We're playing different rules, and we've still got big fat forwards.
I think Manu Mao in the second row, considering he was signed for size, even in that position, I think he still seemed to go quite well. He got that try, didn't he? That was, I think if it had gone up no try, it probably would have come back no try, because we didn't see the ball get grounded. But the referee was in the best position to call it. Like he was in many of these instances. He still wanted it checked.
Yeah, I thought that other than Carlos, Manu Mao was probably the player to come out of it with any slight credit. I don't think we can afford to play Gareth Ellis, because he can only do 20 minutes and that's it in the match. And I think you need to be able to have players who can come back on after they've gone off, because it's just a waste of a substitution, a waste of a player if you're then down to 3 substitutes.
Yeah, and you have to say your forwards on the bench barely made a note of it. I mean, Bowden, I thought he's supposed to be, a senior player in this squad, I would say by now. Even if there's more experienced players, they've not been around the squad for as much, and he came off the bench.
About 3 years ago, we said that him and Chris Green had to kick on, and neither of them did. Chris Green obviously now is at Wakefield and looking like an okay player, and Bowden still looks rubbish.
I think Bowden still looks okay, but you're going to be more critical of him because you want him to be better than okay.
Yeah.
Is it your team? I think is the way it is with him. Definitely, he hasn't kicked on like you're saying. I don't think the bench had so much in that regard. Jake Connor, the Jake Connor Albert Kelly situation. Okay, Albert Kelly's leaving at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
He did look interested for that try that he managed to scrag over at the start of the game, which was, great commitment by him, poor error by the Salford player. But Jake Connor surely needs to be finding a place in this team if the team needs to be looking more towards what's going to happen going forward. And did it impress you at least that Jake Connor seemed to be taking some leadership responsibility at the end of the game, talking to all the other players, when some of the other people who I expect to be the leaders in that game were looking at the laces?
You see, Houghton has never been a captain. He has never been one that would speak. So, but yeah, I mean...
He's a foot soldier, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which goes back to the things we were talking about him before.
Yeah, but sadly, we need a more versatile player at hook. He's got to pack down in the scrum. It's not like the old earlier this season, the rules we were playing. Actually, why not stick Kelly O'Connor in at 9 and let them do something creative from there instead?
Yeah, lots of questions, isn't there, and problems for Last to sort out there, even though there were a couple of positive performances for Hull. we've done it this way around to end on the